Well, hey everybody, John Ritlin here with another retro review, this time of the WCW Bash at the Beach 1999 pay-per-view. I'm a sadist and a masochist. That can be the only reason why I would watch a pay-per-view like this. This isn't the only retro review I'm going to be doing. Bash at the Beach 94, Great American Bash 89, and a few others sprinkled out throughout the year, and possibly some ECW pay-per-views. I will see. It will just totally depend. I might just review those in sequential order at some point, but that's another story for another day. With this pay-per-view, it's around the 20-year anniversary. I do apologize if it's not out on the exact day. I just tried to find some free time and figured, well, I seen the pay-per-view, it was shit, but maybe it won't be so shit now. No, it's actually worse. It's actually really bad. How in the world was WCW still functional with a show like this? I mean, you look at all the talent that they had, all the money, the TV, the pay-per-views, the merch, and they had video games, that kind of stuff. I know they had the corporate backstage takeover thing, and they had a whole bunch of messy backstage politics and a whole bunch of stuff going on. But they had so many talents, and everybody felt the same because they couldn't figure this shit out. And it just got ridiculous. The championships were hot potatoed around a whole bunch. The feuds meant nothing. And even when the good guys won, they, wouldn't get over really, because then they get beat down either right after or the next night, and everything would just be 50-50 booking. But enough about modern day WWE. It's actually frightening to see how many similarities there are between 99 WCW and 2019 WWE. Granted, WWE's got a whole bunch of revenue and everything and all this, and I've talked about that in another rant, so I'm not going to go into it here, but it's kind of scary to see the similarities. But taken in a vacuum, nobody could figure out these storylines. The bookers couldn't, and it was absolute shit. So I'm going to dive right into this. And again, I do have other retro content coming up, so please look out for that. And thank you guys for tuning in. So, Tony Schiavone, Bobby Heenan on commentary in big old Hawaiian shirts, and then they cut to Mean Gene, who says, okay, we're going to send to Mike Tenay, who's in a junkyard. They're going to have a Junkyard Hardcore invitational match and everything. This is something that was actually going to happen. And it was about 10 minutes of talking on a pay-per-view that people paid for. This wasn't a Nitro. This wasn't a Thunder. This was a pay-per-view people paid their money for. You think anybody regretted watching this? My buddy, his dad actually ordered the pay-per-view, so I could always go over there and watch. It was at the time, like, when I was like 18, I just went over there and watched that, and it was kind of fun. But boy, I said, it's a good thing I didn't watch this because I would have regretted it. And he says, yeah, it wasn't a very good pay-per-view, but I'm still going to order the next one. But anyway, enough backstory. We get to our first match. Wait, no, we don't. We get Ernest Miller talking. Ernest Miller, who I don't know if he's a mean guy or nice guy. I have no idea. It just, as a wrestling character, absolutely hated him. Guy was garbage. Guy couldn't really talk. Couldn't cut a goddamn promo to save his life. He couldn't really wrestle either. Now, he may have been an athlete, but he just wasn't a good wrestler. And then, who's going to come out and save us from Ernest Miller? It's Disco Inferno. Okay, this pay-per-view is not off to a roaring start right here. They do a dancing contest at first. Disco Inferno gets cheered. The Fort Lauderdale fans apparently were totally drunk. Good God. Sonny Ono's there with Ernest Miller. Sonny Ono interferes a little bit. We get a shoe usage because Miller has a loaded red shoe, a ruby red slipper, whatever the fuck it was. And then Disco ends up hitting him with the shoe, but covers him 1-2, but then Ernest Miller puts the shoe back on, hits a loaded kick, 1-2-3. Oh, good God. Good God. Yeah, that was the first match. That was the first match on this pay-per-view. I mean, Christ. Yeah, not off to a very good start. We then get Judge Mills Lane, in a little WCW.com backstage thing where he's talking about how he's going to be the judge in this boxing match between Roddy Piper and Buff Bagwell. No, that's something that's actually going to happen. And then we get recaps of Ric Flair not wanting hardcore wrestling. Van Hammer was featured prominently. I forgot all about Van Hammer. I actually liked him when I was a kid. Looking back on it, Van Hammer's actually a pretty goddamn good athlete. He was no more than a mid-carder in WCW, but I never thought that Van Hammer was all that bad. But Van Hammer said, hey, he's another backstage thing where Flair, by the way, Ric Flair was the president of WCW at this time, at least in storyline, and had Piper there with him. After Piper and Flair had feuded, then they formed a team, and then you had Arn Anderson, you had Charles Robinson, this kind of stuff. Van Hammer said, hey, I've been on a roll. Can I get a title shot? Yeah, you can face Steiner. Forgetting that there were actually two Steiners there, but they said, hey, you can face Steiner. So it's Rick Steiner. So it's Rick Steiner defending his TV title against Van Hammer. Sloppy. Fuck. Bad. There was this DDT outside, and it was like 3 minutes. You had It looked like Van Hammer was trying to go for his finisher or this kind of stuff, or some kind of big slam, and Rick Steiner it slips off him, goes to bite him. It looks like he's trying to bite him in the stomach, but actually the angle made it look like he was biting him in the groin, right in his Van Hammer. I mean, good God, that looked pretty goddamn bad. We get a low blow. Couple low blows right in front of the ref. Nope, ref didn't even do anything. Then we get a diving Bulldog 1, 2, 3. Rick Steiner retains the TV title. Again, anybody regretting buying this pay-per-view? Boy, it's a good thing the WWE Network is for a very, very low price of $9.99. I know they haven't advertised that, but I just thought I would here. Because if I had to try and get a copy of this on DVD or anything, I mean, I think they only actually did. I don't think WCW ever did DVD. I think they only did VHS. But yeah, this was an absolute shit show. And I don't think Van Hammer was around much after this. And then we get more Junkyard hype. Oh dear. We recaps of David Flair being made the U.S. champion. Just made U.S. champion. Hey, David, here's a U.S. title. Ric Flair did that for him, by the way. David Flair never belonged in the ring. And David Flair never wanted to be in the ring, to be fair. I'm not actually slamming David, but good God. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because Dean Malenko faced David Flair for the U.S. title. You had Tori, and I think she was Samantha at the time. Asia, because China, because it was Asia, A-S-Y-A. No, that was something they actually did. No, really. Ric Flair, Charles Robinson, Arn Anderson as well. And Dean beats down David and jaw jacks with Flair, Ric Flair and a whole bunch. There's a ref bump. Rick attacks. While Arn runs in, Rick attacks while Asia's put into Texas Cloverleaf. Charles Robinson puts on the referee shirt. And then, counts down Dean Malenko after David Flair gets a no offense, but manages to beat Dean Malenko. And you wonder why Dean Malenko decided to leave WCW about 6 months after this. Good grief. And then we get a recap of the feud between the No Limit Soldiers, Master P, rapper at the time, and some rap buddies, but also some wrestlers like Conan Ray, and there were Brad Armstrong and stuff like that. No, Brad Armstrong really was part of the No Limit Soldiers. I mean, I got nothing against Brad Armstrong. I'm just saying he didn't exactly fit there. But recaps of No Limit Soldiers and West Texas Rednecks feud. West Texas Rednecks, of course, you had the I Hate Rap, audio clips that were played, audio and video clips. I love that song, even when I was 18. Still love it now because it was just great. Kurt Hennig actually did pretty damn well with that. But the West Texas Rednecks, Kurt Hennig, Kendall and Barry Windham, and Bobby Duncan Jr. versus the No Limit Soldiers, Conan, Ray, Swole, and B.A., who was Brad Armstrong. Elimination match. It's actually kind of sad. I forgot that Bobby Duncan Jr. died like 6 months after this. It was really, really sad. I mean, Hennig obviously died a few years afterwards, but Bobby Duncan Jr. was only 34 years old. It's really sad. Like, really is. I mean, sorry to do a somber moment there, but it's like I didn't realize he died at 34. I knew he died young. I just didn't realize he died that young. But this is an elimination match. So, No Limit Soldiers, West Texas Rednecks. And it's a good start. Actually, there was some good offense and everything. Ray, doing some, speed work, but also getting tossed around a bit. And then you start getting to the elimination. Swole, who was his former NFL player that actually got into wrestling. And he eliminated Bobby Duncan Jr. Then things unfortunately got a little sloppy, because then you would cut to people brawling outside the ring, including this big black guy named 4x4 that was he looked like a brick house. I mean, literally. He was as wide as a freaking Cadillac. It was absolutely insane. And I'm not picking on the guy. The guy looked like he was in shape, but the guy was just like a freaking wall, and not the wall. But then Hennig ends up using the Hennigplex to eliminate B.A. Brad Armstrong's gone. Conan eliminates Kendall Windham. Windham and Conan both get counted out then. Barry Windham and Conan get counted out because they're carrying this one other guy, Chase or something, from the No Limit Soldiers into the back. And then Ray ends up pinning Hennig, jumping off of Swole's shoulders, his Swolgers, if you will. The No Limit Swolgers. I just came up with a new t-shirt. If only I was around in WCW back at the time. But, yeah, Ray ends up pinning Hennig, splashing off of Swole's shoulders. That kind of sounds wrong. 1, 2, 3. So the No Limit Soldiers win. It was all right. It started fine and then got a little sloppy, but it was okay. And then the Junkyard Hardcore Invitational. I'm just going to give you the list of participants, and then I'm going to go through some of the bullshit here on this. But you had eventual winner Finlay, by the way. Finlay did win this. You had Finlay, Cyclope, Jerry Flynn, Johnny Grunge, Hack, Horace Hogan. Why was Horace Hogan ever? Besides the fact his last name was Hogan, was there really any reason to have him there? Anyway, Brian Knobbs, Hugh Morris, La Parka, Lord Steven Regal, Rocco Rock, Silver King, and we got David Taylor, Mikey Whipwreck, and Jimmy Hart was there cheering on Brian Knobbs and Hugh Morris because they were part of the first family, this kind of stuff. Well, he's at least cheering on Hugh Morris. I don't know if him and Brian Knobbs were the first family yet, but I know they eventually did become that. Actual wrecked cars, there were some flaming barrels there, and there was an overhead shot with like a helicopter and this kind of stuff, and this was bad. I mean, it was absolutely atrocious. It was like 15 minutes, and it felt like it went on for like 5 years. It was really, really fucking shit. I mean, if you don't believe me, go out of your way, if nothing more, to watch this match, and you come back and tell me this is one of the worst matches of the year. Now, the Kennel from Hell match at Unforgiven 99, there's a retro review I can do. Why do I hate myself? Well, I'm going to do it anyway. But yeah, this just couldn't have gone any worse, because there were people actually getting cut on windshields, cut on the hoods of cars, because these were actual wrecked cars that they were using. Everything was just, even if it was gimmicked, you're still using metal to hit other people, and you're battling around a whole bunch of dirt and a whole bunch of, like rusty cars, dirty cars. You could get infections, this kind of stuff. I know wrestling isn't ballet. I know stuff like that can happen, but this was just like unnecessary risk after unnecessary risk after unnecessary risk. And fucking Christ, it was bad. It went on forever. It looked like Rocco Rock was going to win, and Horace Hogan, of all people, stopped him. And then Finlay eventually won. There was actually this point where this car got compacted and it exploded, like it was like a bad action movie. And then Finlay won. The unfortunate thing is they were going to use this momentum for Finlay, but then Finlay, unfortunately, suffered a severe leg injury that actually almost cost him his leg. And that was actually part of the reason why he had to go into semi-retirement. And after making a brief comeback in like 2000 in WCW, because he needed to get surgery and he almost lost his leg. Fortunately, he didn't. But then he had to do training. That's why he trained some of the women. That's why he didn't come back until he was like 47 years old. So, like 2005. So, that was a bit scary. But this match, it's just, I don't know how anybody could have thought this was a good idea. It just could not have gone any worse. Well, it could have. Somebody could have really gotten severely hurt. But if everybody did not get bonused quite a bit here for this, I'd be really, really disappointed. I would have been calling my attorney right there if I was any of these guys, because there's wrestling and then there's shit. And this is the kind of hardcore bullshit that I don't like. And by the way, there's other shit with cars and flaming barrels and a whole bunch of plunder and a whole bunch of bullshit that's going on even now that I think is garbage wrestling. And this was a prime example of it. And these are all, I mean, most of these guys are pretty talented, except Horace. Jerry Flynn was Brian Knobbs was Hugh Morris was okay. Like 75% of the guys were pretty talented. But this it was unnecessary and it was just garbage. It just didn't need to exist. And then we get DDP, Bam Bam Bigelow, and Canyon, the Jersey Triad, the current WCW Tag Team Champions, versus Benoit and Saturn. And some really good tag work at one point. And, of course, Benoit, hits clotheslines targeting the neck and head. Because he was pretty damn good at that. Targeting his own head, too, doing a diving headbutt. DDP does at one point where he's trying to jaw jack with the fans and then falls off the ropes to the outside. Sells it pretty well and just keeps jaw jacking with him, just goes through. Made it look like he meant to do that. Sign of a good pro. And then, at one point, the crowd seems a little distracted by some fans being assholes in the crowd or something like that. There was a trash can used for some reason. And then Diamond Cutter where Bam Bam Bigelow had Saturn up. And then DDP hit the Diamond Cutter 1, 2, 3. So the Jersey Triad retains. By the way, in case you're wondering why it was a 3-on-2 match, it's because the Jersey Triad were in Flair's pocket. And, they had a friendship with him and everything. They said, Flair said, yeah, sure, all three of you guys can just interchange out and everything and defend the tag titles. That's how you build a tag team division, but whatever. The Jersey Triad was a pretty underappreciated stable, or trio. But yeah, this This was not that was sadly the best match of the show. Because then it all went downhill from here. You had Roddy Piper, Ric Flair in his corner versus Buff Bagwell with Judy Bagwell, his mother. Yep, if you couldn't figure that out. With Judge Mills Lane as a ref, it was a boxing match. Everything about this was shit. Everything about this was shit. The crowd was immediately shitting on it. And the reason this feud was happening is because Bagwell looked like he was going to help out Roddy Piper when Piper had his feud with Flair, and then they screwed over Bagwell. And so Bagwell had kind of gone a babyface run and everything. I never really understood the appeal of Bagwell. He was better in tag teams than he was as a singles wrestler. He just wasn't that good. He wasn't the X factor that he needed to be, that they needed him to be in singles competition, in my opinion. But anyway, the first round was absolute shit. The crowd's already starting to boo. During the break between round 1 and 2, Flair puts a foreign substance. And it gets, and when Piper, who was a legit, tough man, hits Bagwell in the eyes, and he's got his foreign substance, and he's got to do this guy sell this. And then, he finally comes back after, Judy Bagwell gets, the kind of water in his eyes and gets that out of it. And then round 3 happens, and Judy Bagwell immediately starts biting Piper's ear. Okay. And then puts a bucket on his head. And then the Buff Blockbuster. 1, 2, 3. I thought it was a boxing match. What the fuck? I mean, why? Good God. Good fucking grief. Piper only must have gone to WCW for the money, because I can't imagine he went there for any other fucking reason. But then we get, the creme de la creme of bullshit stipulations. We get Randy Savage and Sid versus Kevin Nash and Sting. And Kevin Nash is the WCW champion, so it's a tag match, and the WCW tag title's on the line. But Sting can also pin Nash and become the WCW champion. But it's a tag match. My head hurts trying to figure out these rules. Yeah, we get a lot of messy stuff here. You do at one point, there's, Team Madness, which is Miss Madness, Medusa, and Gorgeous George. And Gorgeous George has a black eye where, maybe Savage abused her, so she went over to Nash's side, but then ended up screwing him over later. This was an absolute mess. When I think Sid was the youngest guy in the ring. Sid or Nash? I think Sid was. And that's really, really sad that Sid was the youngest guy. Because Sid, by this point, he was only going to be in the ring for another, year and a half. Until that unfortunate accident happened at WCW Sin. But it was just, again, Nash was the champion. It was supposed to be a tag match, but Sting could pin him and win the title. So yeah, we get all this messy schmaz stuff. Team Madness gets in there. They get splashed. Sting accidentally splashes Savage and Kevin Nash. And then Sting ends up getting taken out. Gorgeous George, low blows Nash when he tries to jackknife Savage. Sid slams him. Savage ends up hitting the top rope elbow, sky elbow. This is his second to last pay-per-view match, by the way. Savage is the new WCW champion. He would lose it a day later. You want to guess who he would lose it to later? Brother. He lost it to Hogan, by the way, in case you didn't gather that. Yeah, I don't grade retro reviews, but only if you want to torture yourself should you watch this. The Junkyard match is train wreck wrestling and garbage wrestling. As is all stuff that is, taking place in that kind of environment. It's all garbage wrestling. It's not wrestling. I don't fucking care who says it. You can have your opinions and say otherwise. I do not think that it is wrestling. And the tag title match, but everything, this pay-per-view is a fucking wash, and it would unfortunately only get worse. So I will probably be doing more content, besides the ones that I alluded to earlier. Bash of the Beach 94, Great American Bash 89, but other ones, yeah, it's going to get really bad, especially when they get into the Russo era. So, yeah. Anyway, that's all I have to say. So, let me know what you guys thought of the pay-per-view. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description, and I'll see you soon.